Europe's worst heatwave was back in 2003, when a whopping 70,000 people died from the heat across the continent. Last year's heatwave was no less devastating, with more than 60,000 people dying from heat-related illnesses according to the latest research. This year is hotter, so the number of victims that will be counted next year may be even higher, but Europe still has a negative attitude toward air conditioning. In a 2021 poll of 1,045 French adults, 2 out of 3 respondents said they had no plans to buy an air conditioner. In Italy, the hardest hit country with 18,000 deaths last year, only 7% of homes have air conditioning, according to industry estimates. Spain, the second hardest hit country, is at 11%. In France, the overwhelming number 1 victim in 2003, only 5% have air conditioning in their homes, and in the UK and Germany, where thousands die each year, only 5% and 3% respectively. Why don't people in Europe buy air conditioners despite they can afford them? There are quite a few complex factors. The first is, of course, the weather. It is not that hot to have an air conditioner. In Paris, for instance, the average maximum temperature in July is only 25 degrees Celsius, which is way cooler than the 30 degrees Celsius in Asia, so there's no such thing as a tropical night. You get the occasional very hot day, but it only lasts for 2 or 3 days and then quickly returns to the average. And the humidity is so low that no matter how hot the sun is, if you're in the shade, it's very cool. So it's not uncommon to find restaurants, cafes, and hotels that don't have air conditioning, as well as houses. Public transportation like buses and subways, and even hospitals are not air conditioned except for the operating rooms. The problem is that this is becoming a thing of the past. Since 2000, extreme weather events have intensified, and Europe's weather is becoming more and more statistical. Berlin, Germany, which has a lower average maximum temperature than Paris, suddenly hit 38 degrees last year. The UK Met Office is now warning that London is also 10 times more likely to experience temperatures above 40 degrees. Second, there are also significant historical factors. The modern concept of air conditioning was developed in the early 20th century by Willis Carrier in the US. You'll still see many air conditioners named Carrier, the name of the company he founded. At the time, the US was undergoing rapid industrialization and urbanization, which made it easy to install air conditioning in new buildings and homes. Some studies have shown that heat-related deaths in the US dropped by 40% as a result. European cities, on the other hand, were filled with buildings that were already hundreds of years old before the advent of air conditioning. Installing air conditioning in existing buildings was much more expensive than new construction. In addition, hot days do not stay that long, so air conditioning was a bit of a wallflower in Europe. There was an opportunity after World War II, when many buildings were destroyed, but there was no way Europe could afford it, and the perception of air conditioning in Europe was that it was a luxury with no practicality. The perception of air conditioning as a luxury has been a factor in slowing its adoption in Europe. Third is the architectural factor. Many European homes are characterized by thick walls and high floors. While these are basically designed for winter cold rather than summer heat, they can also keep you cool on a sweltering summer day. So, traditionally, Europeans would let the cold dawn air into their homes and then close all the doors to trap it in. But in 2003, it became clear that this was not going to work when the heat wave continued. In France, the thick stone houses that normally kept people cool actually heated up and made things worse. At the time, there were nearly 15,000 deaths in France alone, and because it was the vacation season, there was no staff to handle it, no families to claim the bodies, and the result was a truly devastating situation: a mass burial in a freezing warehouse near Paris. Fourth, onerous regulations also discourage the installation of air conditioning. In Europe, the older the building, the stricter the standards for air conditioning. If a tenant wants to install an air conditioner, they must first get permission from the landlord and then from the local authorities. Europe's administrative processing is notoriously slow, and this process usually takes 6 months or more. That is, the summer will be gone. Even if this isn't the case, it's usually very difficult to get permission from the authorities because the laws are so heavily regulated. In most European countries, outdoor AC units must be at least 4 meters away from the windows of other homes. But in old European cities, with their narrow streets and close proximity to each other, there's virtually no place to put them, and in some countries, they must not be visible from the street. Which means, don't spoil the aesthetics of the city. It's almost like they don't want you to have an air conditioner at all, which is why air conditioners in European homes are usually portable, not package air conditioners or system air conditioners like ours. Fifth, electricity is too expensive for air conditioning. It's no secret that electricity is expensive in Europe. If you average across Europe, it's more than twice the cost of the US. Germany is even more expensive, about 3 times the US. Energy prices in Europe continue to rise due to restrictions on natural gas supplies from Russia. On top of that, peak hour bills are a progressive billing system, making it even more expensive to keep your air conditioner on. Governments across Europe are wary of increasing air conditioning for fear of creating energy shortages. France, for example, has a 20% tax on air conditioners, as opposed to a 5% tax on heating appliances, to discourage their use. Europe's high electricity prices are due in part to the continent's growing reliance on cleaner energy sources, such as solar and wind, which have higher production costs for environmental reasons. Last but not least, Europeans are highly environmentally conscious. It's been said that Europeans are the only ones who have taken action to stop climate change, and they're very active in reducing carbon and greenhouse gases. In 2015, the Paris Climate Agreement, which aims to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, sought to regulate freon gas from air conditioners. In fact, the French National Center for Meteorological Research found that a doubling of air conditioner use in Paris would increase the city's temperature by more than 2 degrees Celsius. This and other studies have led Europeans to believe that air conditioners are useless appliances that pollute the planet and cause harm to others. In addition, Europeans have been reducing the need for air conditioning by taking long vacations and taking naps during the hottest periods. Now, as heat waves become more frequent and longer, Europeans are gradually realizing that they have few alternatives. Recent experiences have made it clear that heat can kill, but so can the terrifying world of extreme temperatures. How can we beat the heat while minimizing environmental damage? Thank you for watching, and that was the Legacy Voices. Bye.